what in the world, what in the world?
Welcome everyone to the Cowgirl channel of Canada. We're excited to share with you some amazing stories that will inspire and motivate you from Canadian cowgirls all across our beautiful country, showcasing Canada's most experienced cowgirls to up-and-coming young women in the cowgirl industry. We will be featuring women in all aspects of the Western industry, from ranching to arts and entertainment, to women that can do all things cowgirl and with a cowgirl spirit. A place to share knowledge of some amazing women and to honor the way of the Canadian cowgirl. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Cowgirl channel of Canada. We are so excited to share with you this special interview with one very special Canadian cowgirl, Anna Gimblett. Anna grew up in Whitehorse, Yukon, Canada, a place I've never seen yet but can't wait to visit someday. At an early age, Anna moved to Germany with her family. This is where her fascination and passion for horses began. Still in her early years, Anna found herself moving back to Canada and into the Yukon and riding again. Anna's love of learning grew, and she began competing in hunter-jumper and dressage discipline, competing at local levels and local shows, and then traveling to Alaska to compete on a higher level. All the while, the desire to become a horse trainer still grew. Moving out to Alberta and attending the Olds Equine program for Western Performance in 2014 and 2016. Anna studied there. After college, Anna started to apprentice and worked as an assistant trainer for Kaylee Wilson for 4.5 years and started horses. In October of 2020, Anna went out on her own and created AK Equine, a personal training facility specializing in correctly starting horses. Passionate and full of life, this young lady will surely be unforgettable in the Canadian equine industry. Please welcome Anna Gimblett.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited and honored to be on the show.
Well, I'm so glad that you could be with us today, and I'm so glad that we get to share some of your information with our listeners from all across Canada. We have people that have chimed in. We've got some people that are actually out in Labrador. I'm very surprised at some very remote places that actually have horses. So when different people have reached out since I started this new media platform, it's amazing where I'm finding that people are that have horses. So just tell us a little bit about where you started off, because at first it actually jumped at me off the paper when I saw it was the Yukon that you were. I've never been there myself. I had a few years that I lived in Yellowknife, Northwest Territories, and I think it was pretty limited on the amount of horses that was in that area. So tell us a little bit about like that first start and like in the Yukon and the horses, and how you just tell us a little bit about how you grew up there.
So the Yukon is not, generally people don't think about horses when they think about the Yukon. Sure. And yeah, like you said, like the horse industry and the horse population, it is limited, just because the human population is limited as well up there.
Yeah.
So it's pretty quiet, pretty small town lifestyle, pretty small town upbringing. My mom was a doctor growing up, so she was
Cool.
not horsey whatsoever. So she was a little bit blown away that I was so into horses. She didn't really know where that came from, but she could see that I loved it, so she supported me, and I'm very thankful that she did, even though she, had no understanding of it. So growing up, it was mostly English. The Western that was up there was really just guiding and hunting, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't really the Western performance that we have down here in BC and Alberta and across Western Canada. But there was one really good coach, English coach, that I grew up with, She did the hunter jumpers and the dressage, and so that's what I did growing up. And she was an amazing teacher and an amazing mentor.
Yeah.
She really gave me a amazingly solid foundation to be able to go on afterwards in life.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that, because you're talking about your mom and you're talking about this one trainer, this one coach, and I find in our industry, in the equine industry, it's universal. You get somebody that's passionate about horses. It really doesn't matter about the discipline. It's about who, and that's how your horsemanship develops. It's about who you learn from and who you get education from. And some of the greatest things that I've learned are from dressage competitors or trainers. So for my horsemanship, which is amazing, and it's something that I secretly desire to do when I get older, is to kind of dibble and dabble around in the dressage discipline for sure. But just tell us a little bit more about your mom. She was a doctor, so that must have been an interesting thing for her. Like, what was it like for her hearing you come home at a young age saying that you wanted to ride horses? Was she kind of like surprised in a kind of like a scared way, like, I don't want you to get hurt, that kind of thing?
oh yeah, definitely. She was not really an animal person whatsoever, period. Like, I even had to convince her to get a dog, so that was interesting. But I have to say, she definitely came around. She herself was never interested in horses, but when I came home and I said, yeah, Mom, like, I want to ride, this is what I want to do, the first thing she did was, back then, she looked up in the phone book and called a number that said, this place gives riding lessons, and that turned out to be my mentor and instructor growing up. Her name was Inga Samanik.
Okay.
Turned out to be her number, so she called her up and got me started at her barn there.
Wow.
And that was that, and I stayed there throughout my whole childhood, my teenage years, growing up.
Yeah. And so you mentioned too that you ended up at an early age, you went overseas to Germany. So that must have been interesting, because a lot of people know, not maybe all of our listeners will know, but Germany is very well known for their fantastic horsemanship, and it's just amazing the level of horsemanship that's in Germany.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. My dad's German, so
okay.
That's how we ended up there as a family. We moved there when I was 2, so my earliest memories are from Germany, and that's where it really started. We lived near a little wooded area that had fields and horses, and we'd walk up on the trails and we'd see the horses in the field, and I don't know.
I want one.
Yeah, I was so recording me, and I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do with my life.
Oh, that's awesome. So that's so interesting, because I know some people that have gone and studied in Germany, and then they end up always kind of coming back, so that's kind of cool. It's I started riding when I was there, actually, at a little barn, and then when we moved back to the Yukon, my mom made sure that the first thing she did was find another place that I could continue with that, because that was obviously a top priority for me. So would you say, in all honesty, that your mom would be probably your biggest fan then? Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You know what? That's so important. As I talk to so many different women on this show and people in places that I've gone over the past, throughout North America and over in Europe, it's amazing how much we need our family to support us. And I talked to a couple of ladies, and one of my biggest kind of cheerleaders in the background was my dad, and he kind of gave me a lot of tough love of, you can cowgirl up and you can figure this stuff out on your own, and not just about horses and growing up on a farm, but a little bit more of a tougher attitude, so that it helps you kind of survive all the hardship and all the hard work that you have to have in you to be a cowgirl. And that's very interesting too, because I really believe that, you know, our moms are just as equally as important. And you were lucky, because if your mom was a doctor, she probably wasn't that concerned if you got hurt. She could fix you up.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think she worried about me quite a lot.
Yeah.
No, and I mean, she's, even though, I mean, to this day, she really doesn't understand what I do, just because, you know, she's not a horsey person, but she was an extremely strong lady growing up. You know, she, you know, pretty much raised me on her own, and was a single mom working as a doctor, you know, working long hours and running a household and raising a kid. And for a while, she homeschooled me as well. So, I mean, she was an incredibly strong lady, and, you know, I hope that, you know, I can be as strong as her. And
you know, I say that about my mom all the time too. Yeah. I'm like, I'd never be half the lady that my mom is. Like, she's done so many amazing things, and I'm like, but I think that's what gives us the strength. And I'm a single mom too. I raised both my kids by myself, and we got to give a big shout out to your mom right now. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, all moms.
For listening to this.
You know, it's that support that you get around you, and it's if you know, as you went through all the different things, that as you just started to, like, you didn't even know, like, as much as a child as you know as an adult, that's what I'm passionate about, that's what I'm going to do. And that drive that you had in you is what kept you moving towards what you desired the most, right? And I think that's really important. I think that part comes too from having parents that can push us and encourage us and let us be a little bit free to go and explore difficult things in life, because it's not an easy choice to, you know, be a horse trainer, or to have, you know, a farming background, or to, you know, work on a ranch or anything like that. It's good, long, hard hours, and you sleep really good at night.
Oh yeah, that is the truth.
So as you got a little bit older, you guys, you moved back out into the Yukon, and you got a little bit more competitive. Tell us a little tiny bit more about Alaska, and I'll tell you why. I'm fascinated about it. My father and my mom went out to Alaska probably about 3 or 4 years ago, and I've never been, but my dad, since I can remember, since I was a little girl, always wanted to go to Alaska. And so I was just curious when you said that the bigger shows were in Alaska.
Yeah, so the shows that we had in the Yukon, you know, they were kind of small, fun shows. You know, it's the local show that, you know, everybody goes to, and you got all sorts of different classes.
Yeah.
You got your Western and your English and your Gymkhana and, you know, your halter, and, you know, you kind of enter all the classes on the same horse, and, you know, it's super fun. And so we always did those every year. And then when I got a little bit older, like later on in my teen years, my coach started traveling to Alaska for a couple shows.
Nice.
There was a dressage show, and then a jumping show the week after. So we would always go to both of those. Dressage was never my strong suit, I'll tell you that right now. I have utmost respect for it, but it's incredibly hard. So
it looks hard.
Yeah, I always kind of got through that show, and then my favorite, my strong suit was always the jumpers. So, and I had a super fun little mare that I did it with. So, the shows in Alaska, they were definitely kind of the next level up. You know, it was quite competitive.
Okay.
So that was fun to be able to, you know, leave kind of some of the local shows where everybody knows everybody, and it's all fun, and go to something that's, you know, a little more higher stakes and higher competition, and, you know, people you don't know. And so it was super fun.
Good. Awesome. It's nice to do something like that. It gives you a little bit more of an edge, you know.
Yeah, pushes your boundaries a little bit.
Yeah, and that challenging, and that drive and stuff that happens when you're at events and stuff like that, you get to see a different perspective of what it is that's going on outside your own you know, circumstances at home, because that's when you get out there and you see that, you're like, okay, I can do this too. And it doesn't seem as impossible when you see something like that happening. So I know when I competed, at first I was like, oh boy, I'm never going to do that. I'd watch the other girls do it, and I was in my early or later 20s when I first started competing, and I was a single mom. I had a kid at home, and I would drag my kid to the shows and all that fun stuff and have people help and watch, and I would go in the ring and compete. And it's very important. I think it's important to put yourself in that situation, and then you can find out where it is you fit, where you belong afterwards, right? So for you, exactly. So for you, you ended up after that at that point in your life, you had already had that under your belt, and then you went to Alberta and you did the Olds Equine College program that's out there. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I actually started in the English Horsemanship Major.
Okay.
Because that's where I came from. I did the 100 jumpers and all that. So the logical thing was to do the English. But I had always had a lot of interest in the Western, just never really had the opportunity or a coach close enough that I could go learn that stuff from.
Yeah.
And then after the first year, just some unforeseen circumstances and some internal politics and all that, I ended up switching to the Western Horsemanship Major.
Nice.
And then I guess the rest is history.
Yeah.
That's where it all kind of took off from.
It felt good in the Western. I felt like that was really more suitable to what I wanted to do, and I really enjoyed it, and that I just felt like that was my calling. Yeah, and that is a 2-year program, and it still is, because one of the other guests that we had on the show, Kateri Cowley, she's out west, we were discussing it, and I actually have a friend of mine, and she's actually doing it, and her best friend left from the East Coast and went out there a year ago. One decided to do English course, and the other one did the Western, and it was it was great that they both chose something different, because they both get to network and share what they're learning about the different disciplines, which I think is fantastic. That it's all right there, and it's all under the same roof. But I'm like you. I've got that favorite thing about being in my cowboy boots and my jeans. Although I do like wearing that, I do like doing the jumping and stuff too. I work with a lady, Jen Hamilton, years and years and years ago. I did some hunter, and I really enjoyed the jumping. So, but I stuck where my heart was, which was in my Western saddle.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I love the jumping too. Like, if I would still do it on the side if I could.
Yeah.
But really my heart is with the Western performance horses. And
so something special while you were at the Equine College, I do believe you met somebody there.
I did. Well, I met a few people, but one person in particular that stands out. I met my husband there.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, he was doing the farrier program.
Okay.
And he actually lived 3 doors down from me in the dorm rooms.
Nice.
So that's how we met.
That's fantastic. That's you know what? And it's so funny, because one of the girls that is out there now, and she's the one that's taking the English science program. She actually met her current boyfriend out there, so it must be a thing. When I saw that as part of your story, I was like, well, there you go. And it's one of those things where sometimes it's such a cool thing that happens to people in their lives, and it takes you on that path. But you guys were both there for something very specific, a passion that you're a love of your life, that into horses and the equine industry, and that's the perfect place to meet somebody, right?
Oh, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, Kenny's amazing. I can't say enough how amazing he is, and he just he always just pushes me to be better, be stronger, keep doing what I'm doing. Like, he has been such an amazing support in my life and in my career. And with him also being a professional in the horse industry, he does he's a farrier, so we're just a great team with doing what we do, and I really don't think it could have worked out any better.
That's fantastic. Well, congratulations on that part, because having family in your life like your mom, and having other people that are supportive around you just makes everything that you're doing, because they can see your passion and they can see your drive. And when you have people that are lifting you up in your life, it doesn't matter what it is that you're doing. It really does change everything, because it gives you enough strength to get through the hard times. And if you're trying to grow your life and you're trying to challenge yourself about anything in life, having some support to get through the hard stuff makes it all worthwhile in the end, for sure.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I think in anything you do in life, in order to be successful, you need a support system, of people that, believe in you and are willing to support you. And even if it's from afar, even if they're not right close with you all the time, but you need a support system in life.
Yeah. And so after college for you, you ended up getting another, I guess, bit of support, I want to say, as you became an assistant trainer for Kaylin Wilson, because that would probably be an interesting journey for you to have had, someone challenge your training.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, college is good in the sense that, it's a good stepping stone to get you into the industry, to get you start meeting people and all that. But after you leave, if you want to be successful in this industry, you need to continue your education elsewhere.
Yeah.
So in my case, I went and worked for Kaylee. It was supposed to be a 6-week practicum as part of my college, and then it turned into 4.5 years. So, but
well, there's lots to learn.
That just goes to show, how much there is to learn. Like, yeah. I did my 6 weeks there, and I was like, I can't leave. Like, I don't know anything. I need to stay. Like, I need to keep learning from this guy, because he's so amazing, and he can just train a horse like you wouldn't believe. And I was like, how do I get to be like him,
Yeah.
So it's just, you gotta just stay. You gotta put in your time.
Put in the miles in the saddle, yeah.
Put in the miles and the hours and everything.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So tell us a little bit about some of your time as an assistant trainer doing that. Like, I mean, obviously, I know what it would be like to have that position and to be in that position, have that opportunity. But like, for a general audience, someone that, is listening, that's an aunt or an uncle of an equine member, could you explain a little bit more what the in-depth work is like to be an assistant trainer for someone like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the facility that we were working out of, it was about 6.5 acres. So it's not huge, but it's pretty concentrated. We had between 40 and 50 horses at any given time. Wow. A lot of them were performance horses, so cutting horses or cow horses, and then we also had a lot of horses that would come in just to get started, people's riding horses. They're pleasure horses, they're all around horses. Yeah. So we had a lot of horses like that would come through to get trained or tuned up, and then, like I said, with the performance horses, a big part of that is we would start them right from 2-year-olds, train them all the way through their 2-year-old and their 3-year-old year. And then with the performance horses, their maturity year would be their 3-year-old year, so that'd be the first year that they would get shown.
Yeah.
So
a lot of hours in there. Yeah.
A lot of hours. Yeah. And then we'd hit the road and go to the shows. Start showing these horses that we've been training for the last however many years.
So you did you did do a bit of competitive work in regards to that. So you were showing other people's horses, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's interesting too, right? Because for me, with some of the horse training that I do, when I'm out clinicianing and stuff like that, I tell people all the time, switch out your horse and see what it feels like to ride someone else's horse, or to handle it on the ground for the groundwork and stuff like that. And all of a sudden you've got this dull horse that was a school horse for 15 years, and then an owner that had a youngster that they're getting ready to start or get groundwork on, and all of a sudden, oh wow, I really got to pay attention. So handling other people's horses all the time makes you very aware of what you're doing, so you become really great at your job fast.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, with the number of horses that would come through the barn, you get so much exposure so fast. Like you ride, I mean, there's 40 to 50 horses, wow. And 3 of us or 4 of us that are riding. So, I mean, you swing a leg over a lot of different horses a day.
So would you say that that's a dream job for some people?
Oh, for some people. For other people, it's not. But and that's the thing, you know, it sounds, you know, all fun and dandy. You know, you just get to ride horses for a living.
Yeah.
But
It's a lot of
in
work.
reality, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You know, that working at Kaylee's, like, the day would start at 6 a.m.
Yep.
You go out, you feed horses, you do the chores, which with 50 horses, there's always a lot of poop to shovel.
Yep.
You know, got that, and then you start riding. You know, and then you got 40 or 50 head to get through, and then, you know, end of the day, then you got to feed again, clean the barn, sweep up, and, you know, you might not finish till 7 or 8 o'clock at night. You know, so it's long days, and then you go to bed, maybe have some dinner, and get up and do it all again.
Or fall asleep in your dinner.
Yeah, or that. So
yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, right? It's doing this. It has to be your passion and your lifestyle and what you've chosen to do.
Yeah.
It's not a job.
Exactly.
It's not a job.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
No, that's excellent. And where is Kaylee again?
So he was just in Abbotsford.
Abbotsford, okay.
Abbotsford, BC.
Right,
Yeah.
right, okay. Fantastic. So yeah, that has to have been a very interesting part of, you know, because you went from college and then you went and worked for this 4.5 years with this trainer, you know, kind of working pretty intensely. And that then took you into what mindset? So let's talk a little bit about that. So how did you go from finishing up doing that? Because I know you mentioned in some of what we had discussed before the interview about that you were going to maybe leave a little bit earlier than what you did.
Yeah, well, after about, I think I was there maybe 1.5 years or 2 years or somewhere around there. And Kenny, at the time we were engaged, you know, planning on getting married. And he lived in the Okanagan, kind of a Soyuz, Penticton area out that way.
Okay.
And our plan was that I was gonna leave and go out there, and, you know, we were gonna set up, and I was gonna maybe train ranch horses, and Kenny had his farrier business out there, so
nice.
he had a pretty good business out there.
Yeah.
Fair number of clientele, so that was why we were planning on going out there. And so I told Kaylee that, and she kind of sat on it for a day or two. And then he approached me and he said, you know what, like, if you can just put in a little bit extra time, just really learn how to train a performance horse, start to finish, you know, how to do, because there's a difference between starting a colt and getting good for, you know, 30, 60, 90 days. Yeah. There's a difference between doing that and taking a horse and actually finishing it into a performance horse that you or someone else can go show. And he said to me, if you can just put the extra time in and learn how to do that, you're going to be way better off in life.
And I think that's probably partly because he saw something special in you about how you are as a trainer and a handler and stuff like that. And it's always those rare moments and those rare people in our lives that really make the difference. And that's, you know, part of the success you're having now with your business too, is that you put in that extra hard time, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I owe a lot to Kaylee for that. He was an amazing mentor, an amazing teacher. You know, he pushed me hard to get better and to learn and to do all that, but I would not be where I am today without him. Like, he really took me under his wing and just taught me from ground zero. You know, I look at what I knew when I got to his place. Yeah. Like, the first day I arrived there, I didn't know anything. Like, comparatively speaking to what I know now, you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Like, you think you know enough.
And then you're like, oh, I don't.
Exactly, and then you go somewhere and you're like, oh, I actually don't know anything. But yeah, so he's been amazing, and he even now, like, he continues to be a good mentor. I can just, you know, call him up and ask him questions, or, you know, we've stayed friends through it all. So
that's fantastic. Well, that's what we need. We need support like that in everything in our lives, for sure. So you've had some other things that were some maybe turning points or some change in your life, some experiences that you can talk about if you want, or you don't. Is there anything that you'd like to talk about something that was a real changing point for you in your life up to this point?
Yeah, well, I'll touch on it briefly. So when I was 17, my stepdad passed away after a pretty long battle with cancer. Yeah. And you know, obviously growing up, my biological father lived in Germany, so I was quite close to my stepfather. Yeah. Him and my mom were together for quite a long time. So after he passed away, it was just, I don't know, I just went into a little bit of a funk, a hole, if you will, and I just really didn't know what direction I wanted my life to take. Even though I knew horses were always at the forefront, I was just maybe just lost motivation. Yeah. Was the biggest thing. Yeah. Because I had this plan that right after high school I was gonna go out to college and get it all done and take the world by storm and all that. And then it just, I don't know, it just all came crashing down in a way. Yeah. So I took a year off after high school. Good for
you. That's excellent.
Yeah, just to process and time does heal. So yes. I just took the time and you know what? I didn't even ride that much that year that I took off. Yeah. I still had the mare that I had growing up, but I just didn't ride a whole lot. Yeah. But me and my best friend at the time, we started our own house cleaning business, so that was kind of fun. Getting to work every day with her, and being self-employed at such a young age too was pretty cool. So we did that for the year, and as time went on, I was we did the cleaning for the year, and I just maybe took a little bit of a step back from the whole horse deal. Yeah. And then as time went on, it just became super clear in my mind of what I wanted to do and how I was going to get there. And by the time that year was up, I was super ready. Awesome. to leave, to get going with my life, and to, try to make my dream come true of being a horse trainer.
Wow. And you did it. You did it fantastically, actually. But you know what?
Yeah,
I'll say congratulations to you on that, because, one of the biggest things that I wish for everybody is that at some point in your early part of your life that you can stop and you can take that moment and just kind of really be sure, because it will find you again. That passion will always find you again. And being a single mom myself, I had to raise my kids, and so that was my forefront, and always every day was getting my kids to hockey and skating and school, and always still had the horses were always in my life, but sometimes not as much, and I can look back now and I can appreciate those times too. So yeah, congratulations. That's nice that you had that opportunity to do that.
Yeah, it was a good year. It was tough and it was different, but yeah. I don't regret it.
So tell us now, I have a question. Do you have any special stories about any special horses that you've had? Like something that you would consider like a really rare circumstances, or a fun story about any special horse?
I mean, the very first horse that I owned, she was very special. She was she belonged to my coach, actually, that I had up there. Okay. She was I think when we bought her, she was 23 or maybe even 25 already. Like she was getting on. She was a gray Arabian mare, of all things, and I guess she was just an absolute terror when she was younger, and got better with age. And then by the time we bought her, I think we bought her for like $750, which is pretty cheap for a horse, but at the time that seemed like a lot of money for us. Yeah. But I tell you what, that old gray Arabian mare, she was wicked. She could do everything, like rail ride, jump, dressage, gymkhana. Wow. I always want gymkhana on her every year.
Wow. That's fantastic.
She was incredible. Yeah, so it just goes to show that those older horses, they
never leave you.
They'll have a lot of life in them.
Yeah, exactly. I was just gonna say that. It's so cool that I have one old guy now, and he's kind of the same thing. He just never ever stops surprising me. And when I first got him, he was just a couple years old, and I named him Maverick, and he is a maverick. And I think he always will be. But he is to me my best friend. But he's my ultimate teacher every day. He's my ultimate teacher, and that's one of the biggest things that I love about my philosophy about my horsemanship, is that the horses are always, the best teacher of us all. So, but yeah, that's really cool. And an Arabian mare too. I got to work with an Arabian in Sweden when I was there a couple years back, and it's my heart horse in Sweden, and the Grey Arabian gelding actually.
Oh, funny.
But I really do. I hadn't really had a lot of time with that breed or that. Yeah, that type of horse, and mostly just quarter horses is what I handled, throughout 90% of my career. So when you get a chance or an opportunity to work with a different breed or work in a different discipline, it's always refreshing, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's always good to have a change.
Yeah. So now you're at this point in your life, and you've got all this education, you've got all this training and all this experience and growth that you've had, the struggles, and you've met your husband. And so tell us a little bit about what this is now for you, your future, and what is currently going on with you.
Yeah, so last October, so I guess 6 months ago, it's not very long ago, I left Kaylee's, and my husband and I started what we have now, AK Equine. So that's our business. I do the training and the riding, and he does the farrier work. So I like it because it's a great team effort. I think it's super special in that way, because we can both bring our talents and our strengths to the business, and together we've created something pretty strong. I'm super happy with, and my forte and my passion has always been the young horses, the colts starting.
Nice.
So that's been my bread and butter. I get a lot of different horses in the start, anywhere from I get the performance horse 2-year-olds, the cutters and the cow horses that are going to go on to have performance careers.
Nice.
So I'll start them, and then they go on. I also start quite a lot of warm bloods actually too.
Wow.
It's kind of a fun throwback to my English days, so I'm thankful for my English background and not that up, because I know what warm blood should feel like. It's a quarter horse versus a warm blood, just the way they move, the way they feel, the way
their stride, everything.
Yeah, like the basics are the basics throughout any discipline. Every horse, no matter what it's going to go do in life, needs to know the basics. You know what I mean? Like how to move.
It feels different when they stretch out a little bit longer. Those 16 plus hands, yeah, absolutely.
The contact is different. The Western horses, you kind of want to teach them to go around on a looser rein and carry themselves a lot more. And the warm bloods, you like to have on a little bit of a more contact, and you ride them up into their faces quite a bit more. So I'm super thankful for my English background, because I really use it a lot every day, because I start so many warm bloods as well. Yeah,
that's fantastic. Yeah, well, that's interesting. So if people wanted to find out a little bit more, or so do you have an opportunity to take in more clients and stuff like that, or is it you have?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So right now I have about 8 to 10 horses, kind of depending on the month, which is a pretty manageable number.
Okay.
But down the road, my goal is to be able to grow and expand, to be able to accommodate more horses, and also be able to hire on, an assistant of my own that can help me out, and also that I can pass on my knowledge to as well.
Right, and then maybe possibly take some of those nice performance horses out and get them showing and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, I'd like to, be able to start buying and selling some more of my own personal performance horses, and be able to grow and expand to be able to accommodate performance horses that other people own, and be able to take them down the road. And hopefully the border will open up one of these days,
I know.
Those days.
I know. It's I was just gonna say to you, I can't wait to get an opportunity. You and I exchange like locations and stuff like that, and I travel extensively myself for my business. And this last year with the pandemic and with COVID, it's been blessing for so many things for me. For my life, I'm so happy to be at home and to be with my own guys, and but I sure do miss being out teaching and traveling. And that was one of the questions that I was going to kind of just finalize with you, is that how do you feel that the pandemic has affected you and affected your business? Has it affected you in any way, or?
Good question. Yeah, that's a tough one. Me personally, I don't feel like it's affected quite as much, just because all of my clients, they are local.
Right.
More, it's, but it definitely has affected the industry.
Yes.
That I'm in.
Yeah.
The cutting cow horse industry, the cross-border showing,
yeah,
and especially the buying and selling of horses across the border. It's really affected that.
Yeah.
Because people can't just, fly up to try a horse, or fly down to try a horse.
Exactly.
Or drive down to pick up a horse that they just bought. So it's you have to jump through a lot more hoops nowadays, if you can even get through some of those hoops.
Yeah, it's this weekend I was supposed to have been in Texas for the Road to the Horse. I'm there every year. I've never missed a year, and it was difficult to have to make that decision not to go, but it is one of those things that it's just like the hard work that you put in as a trainer. That 4.5 years. I'm hoping the pandemic's not going to be 4.5 years, but it will pass. It will pass, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of things that people will have taken away from it. And that's one of my final questions I wanted to ask you is, what would be a piece of advice that you'd give to someone like yourself, if you could talk to them and tell them, it's going to be okay, or it's hard work in this part or this part, but if you want to be a horse trainer and you want to run your own business, this is what you should do. So is there anything specific that you would tell somebody?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. I think whatever industry you want to be in, or whatever your passion is, wherever you want to take your career, I think you need to find somebody in that career or in that business that you look up to and is successful, and you need to go and work for them or learn from them in whatever way, shape, or form that you can. And you need to just go and put your head down and be quiet and just absorb what they do and learn from them and watch what they do, and just be around people that are successful and see how they've made it, and then try to embody that.
Wow, that's good advice.
And then another thing too is just, this is going to sound super cliche, but it's a lot of work. It's hard work. It's 12 to 16 hour days, day in, day out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tough. You might forego sleep or eating or your social life or whatever, but if it's truly something that you want, you just need to put your head down and put in the hours and make the sacrifice until you get to where you want to go.
Yeah. And we never really stop getting to where we want to go, but that's some fantastic advice.
But that's the whole point, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Grind.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But that being said, at the same time, it's easy to burn yourself out.
Yes. Yeah. I've been there for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I went through that quite recently as well. Just, working so much that it's actually detrimental to your health, your relationships, yourself. And you can very easily get to the point where you're actually going backwards because you get so tired and so burnt out that you're no use to yourself, you're no use to who you're working for, you're no use to the people that you love in your life. So you also have to recognize at what point do you just step back a little bit and, maybe there's something that you have to say no to, or just take a day for yourself, or you just dedicate the entire day to sitting on the couch. I don't know, whatever you gotta do.
I just said that recently to somebody last week, and I gave them a little tiny piece of advice, and I said, you have to pace yourself. Pace yourself. You're young and you have your whole life ahead of you, and that passion, that drive that you have at your early 20s or whatever it is, it'll still be there when you're 76 years old. And my dad is proof of that. Your passion never has no real gauge. It just stays true, right? So pace yourself.
Yeah. And self-care is important.
Super important.
As important as working hard. So it's a fine balance. You have to, you got to put your nose to the grindstone and work hard and put those hours in, but at the same time you have to just make sure that you're still taking care of yourself so that you can have longevity. And
do it like you're doing it. Love living life, and that's one of the things. I'm so grateful to have had you on the show with us here, and for our audience. We're going to put all the information on the website and put some information out there. People can reach out and contact you if they've got a question about anything, something that they wanted to know about Olds College, or something they want to know about what you're doing right now with your colt starting and your philosophy, or how to become an assistant trainer with another horse trainer. So all these things, this is one of the reasons why it's so important for us to network and talk to one another. Like, I'm in Ontario right now. I'm from the East Coast, and you're out in BC. It's such a small world that we live in, and the equine industry is even smaller. So I'm really, really appreciative of your time, because I know, like myself, we've got chores to do and we've got things to do and everything, but it's so wonderful to be able to sit down, like you just said, in self-care and take some time and chat with somebody once every now and then. And, I welcome anybody that's, even if they're shy a little bit or nervous or worried or whatever, if you have anybody that you want to shout out to or refer to come on to the show, we'd love to hear from other women. And it doesn't matter what part of the country you're in, and it doesn't matter if you're starting out or if you're at the finish line and you've done it all. I have a fantastic lady that's going to be coming on, I think next month in May, and she's 89 years old and still rides.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so there's that's what I want everybody to understand, is that and I'm so grateful that you've been able to take this time with us and talk about some of this. It's difficult, and we all need to help each other out a little bit more, and when we do and how we do it, it pays off so much in the end, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm super excited and humbled to be on here.
No, it's fantastic, and we'll put all your information out there for everybody. Anna, it was such a joy to have you on the show, and really looking forward to actually, when I can, not if, when I can come out and visit with you, and maybe you can show me a thing or two.
Absolutely, I look forward to it.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
To find out more about the National Cutting Horse Association, please visit their website at nchacutting.com. The National Cutting Horse Association promotes and celebrates the cutting horse, whose origin on Western ranching allows us to support ranching and its Western heritage.